Welcome to the Mindset on Resilience podcast. I am your host, Daniel Truelove, and I am excited for the guest that we have today. Man, he is a phenomenon. He's well known for the work that he does in higher education. Had a long career in higher education, has actually worked at a couple different institutions, but has made a tremendous impact where he's at right now. He's someone that I call a friend. I've had the pleasure and opportunity to be able to work with him, and man, just to be able to see the impact that he's having on the students, the way they respect him, the way he's able to have influence, not in one department, but as we get ready to talk to him, you'll see he has influence all over the campus with all the different roles and students that he gets to impact. None other than Assistant Dean of Students, my man, Mr. Bennie Williams. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Daniel. That was a very nice introduction. I appreciate you.
Hey, I gotta do you I gotta do you right, because I told you before this, I gotta make sure I say yes, sir, when I address you. You got about 12, 14 roles. So
uh, I hear you.
yes, sir. Well, yeah. Let's get into that. Talking a little bit more about what it is that you do. I want to start before we kind of dive deeper into that. Me getting an opportunity to come down there and visit Canisius University, beautiful campus, man. Tell me a little bit about Canisius. What is if you were to describe Canisius University, how would you describe it?
Canisius University is like the Disneyland in Buffalo, New York, Disney World in Buffalo, New York. It is a great place. It is a beautiful campus, as you mentioned. It is a place where people learn, grow, where people challenge each other, where people respect each other. It is just a phenomenal place to learn, to grow, to develop. And as our tagline states, Canisius is where leaders are made. This is the place where people come and gain the skills that they need to go out and to impact the world.
Got you. Well, it has to be something to go from being a student to where you learn how to be a leader, and now you are a leader at the university to where you learn leadership from. So I think that's pretty cool. What is that like for you to, go get an education at a university and then years later to now be employed at that university? How was that for you?
I have yet to find the word in the English language to describe that feeling. Humbled, I think, is the one that comes to my mind first and foremost. It's amazing to to be here in this position. When I was applying to colleges, Canisius was my number one choice. I'm originally from Buffalo, and like I said, Canisius is the premier institution in the Buffalo, Western New York area. So it was like you go to Canisius, you've made it, right? So I always wanted to go to Canisius. Got the opportunity and privilege to go, and now to be back to make this place better for future students to come to. Remarkable.
The one thing that I would say, because I agree with everything that you described the university as, but as I was on campus and had an opportunity to impact, which we'll talk about, one of the many organizations that you are leading on campus, man, it's a really good feeling. Even though I was away from home, I didn't feel like I was away from home. Very much so a welcoming environment, and obviously, I feel like your leadership has a lot to do with that. But even the student interaction, man, you all are doing a phenomenal job there on campus, and can't wait for the opportunity to come back and get that magical experience like Disney World provides.
Absolutely, absolutely. We pride ourselves here in Buffalo of being the city of good neighbors. And so, hospitality is just like it's in our nature. So we love to treat our guests well. We love to show off our city. And so we're fortunate to have had you for a little bit, but look forward to bringing you back again so you can experience more of our beautiful city.
Let's make it happen. That sounds good. So, assistant dean, man, that's got a nice ring to it. Tell me a little bit about what exactly does an assistant dean do? It sounds like you run things, is what what I think of.
Uh, so assistant dean is the way that universities, um, they give you a lot of different roles, and instead of giving you a title for each role, they just give you this assistant dean. So they throw a lot of different things at me in my assistant dean role. But some of the primary responsibilities that I do is I oversee our Alana Student Center, and Alana is an acronym for African American, Latinx, Asian, and Native American. So we do a lot of programming around those identities, but also understand that students are not just their racial or ethnic identity. So we pay attention to intersectionality and all the different parts of your identity that make you who you are. So I'm directly responsible for the work in that department. I oversee our Center for International Education. This department works to support our international students on campus. We have over 140 international students here. And so making sure that they have all their paperwork and are following all their guidelines, and also doing some programming and some other things with them to get them acclimated and to support them while they're here. That department also oversees our study abroad programs. So we have a number of different places where students can go abroad for a semester, for a year, and get the skills that come with that experience. I serve as a deputy Title IX coordinator, so assisting our Title IX coordinator with issues of sexual misconduct and those type of things. And then director of ULLC, our Urban Leadership Learning Community, which is a scholarship program for students from the Buffalo, Western New York area.
I told you he does a lot. So he said that. So if you're going to be over, all those different departments, uh, just give you the title of assistant dean, so you can do it all. But yeah, so obviously you oversee a lot of different. You talked about international students. You talked about multicultural students, leadership programs. But I want to kind of go back a little bit. Was Canisius your first? You graduate from Canisius? Did you immediately go to work in there, and or what was your journey like to get into the role that you're at right now?
Yeah. So I was a student here at Canisius. My major was education, specifically childhood education. So that was for grades 1 through 6. And so I often found myself being the only one in many of my classes. And that was in a couple different ways. I was the only student of color. And then I was the only male. You don't see a lot of men in elementary education, which is the area that I was in. So um, I wanted to go to law school, but I had went to a program in high school that kind of focused on law. So I did that, and I was like, I can go to law school with any degree. So I was like, let me do education. And then I kind of fell in love with education, and like every year, law school got to be a further a goal that was just further out there. But yeah, as a student on campus, I served as a resident assistant for 3 years. I was president for 2 years of our Afro American Society. I got to work with our teacher education club, our Ignatian urban scholars. And so through those different experiences is where I realized that a career path in higher education was a thing. I had no idea what that was or how to get there. And once I had learned about that and got to my senior year, I was like, okay, so like, really, what are you doing? Are you going to law school or you doing something else? And Canisius has a program that prepares folks to work on college and university campuses. So I applied, I got accepted to that program, and was fortunate enough to get a assistantship, basically a job on campus as a hall director that was able to pay for my grad school. And so I worked here for 2 years, and then left Buffalo for the first time in my life. I think I was 23 years old, um, 22, 23 years old, and left to go to Syracuse, New York, which was only about 2 hours away, to work at another Jesuit institution, Moyne College.
So what was that transition like to home? You're in Buffalo, and then your career takes you to Syracuse, which, like you said, not too far away, 2 hours away, but still, you're away from home, away from everything that in a sense, and have to create a new sense of normalcy.
Yeah, man. I remember the day I left, I went to my um, second nephew's kindergarten graduation. I went there that morning, and I was with my family there. And then I had to pack up my stuff and leave. And As excited as I was for this new adventure, I had no idea what to expect, right? This is my first time being away from home, being away from my family, from my loved ones. And I'm not even going to a place like where I have family or, or have people that I know. I knew absolutely nobody in Syracuse. They offered me a job. I didn't know what to think about salary. I was like, I don't make any money now as a grad student, so anything you pay me, I'm excited about. I took the job at Moyne, and I was just here in this new situation. This was actually a year after I got married, and my wife was still in grad school. So she stayed in Buffalo to finish grad school, and I went to Syracuse. So we kind of did the long distance thing for a little bit, and I would go back to Buffalo. She would come up to Syracuse. But yeah, man, that transition was huge. As I look back on it, I wouldn't be standing in front of you today if I didn't go through that experience. That experience allowed me to grow personally, allowed me to grow professionally, and being a newlywed, it even allowed us to grow as a couple. And so we were able to, you know, find what works for us, what doesn't work for us, without the influence of our family kind of all over us. We were able to go through our challenges and work through those. And if we needed support, again, it was only 2 hours away, so it wasn't super far. But we are able, it wasn't just, let me go around the corner, right? So it really allowed us as a couple to just grow in our independence and to really figure out what marriage is going to be like for us.
That's good. That's good. And so, but I do imagine, even though that allowed y'all, afforded y'all the opportunity to kind of grow, that distance, like obviously you get married and it's like, oh, you live together. But now there's just an additional type of, I don't want to necessarily a challenge because it's not necessarily a challenge, but there's something else that you also have to navigate as well. And that's something else being distant. So, what, like, what was the opportunity that brought you to Lemoyne?
Yeah. So, my work as a hall director prepared me, I think, to go into what you would call entry level type positions on a college university campus. So I was an area director at Moyne College. And so I was able to live on campus. So I had an apartment on campus in the residence halls with the other students. So that was definitely an experience. But something I was used to because I did the same thing here in Buffalo. But in that role, I was able to work with the resident advisors that they had on campus and some of our major kind of signature campus activities and programs. So I oversaw residential communities, making sure that students moved in properly, that they had everything they need, things were working well. If there were any roommate conflicts or if they violated any of our community standards, following up with them and making sure that they understand what happened and make better choices moving forward. So yeah, that was the opportunity. Again, I think because it was only 2 hours away and it was a Jesuit institution, which Canisius is also, that made it a little bit easier and a bit more comfortable for me to go to somewhere where, again, I knew absolutely no one or nothing.
Gotcha. But I think that the great thing about going somewhere where you don't know anybody, you have to form new relationships. You have to have a growth mindset in a way because you can't. I mean, well, technically you could stay in your shell if you wanted to, but if you're going to be successful in being great as a leader on campus or great within your hall, your dorm, that's going to force you to have to cultivate some relationships in order for you to do that. So but then it sounds like because you were there on campus, you now have the opportunity to be introduced to some other organizations that were on campus. And is that why you say that if you hadn't gone to Lemoyne that you would not have had the opportunity that you have today?
Yeah, I think I say that because yes, my experiences at Moyne prepared me to be able to do what I'm doing today. I wouldn't have had the different type of lens. I wanted to stay at Canisius and I wanted to graduate. I was actually rooting for one of my supervisors. I would be like sending him job postings like, don't you want to apply for this job so I can take your job, just make it easy on me. And so I wanted to stay at Canisius very badly. And the director of residence life at the time was like, nope, you gotta go, you gotta go. And I was like, that's not fair, like, you never left, like, why I gotta leave? You've been here for 30 years, why I gotta leave? He's like, nope, you gotta go, you gotta go. And I get it. I get it now. Like, if I had not gone away, if I had not been away, if I had not had a different type of experience, saw something different, even though Lemoyne was a Jesuit institution, it operated differently, had a different group of students, different geographically a little bit. So if I didn't have those opportunities, I wouldn't be able to come back and to, one, have had the experiences, and two, that's just to have the lens in which I'm able to look through and do the work that I have now.
I think the amazing thing with going off is that you now have, like you being a student there, you have a great understanding of what are the requirements or what are the expectations that they have on campus. But now, when you have experience like you had with going somewhere else, now you don't just have that one perspective. Now you're able to add those different perspectives and how, okay, well, we did it this way at Canisius, and they're like, well, we do it this way here. And so now maybe there's even some language that you have to adapt and kind of have a learning curve in a way. And obviously outside of our comfort zone, there's nothing but growth that can happen when we're there. So tell me a little bit about the growth that you had, when you went to Lemoyne and the different things that you did while you were on campus there.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I got to oversee our resident advisor program. So I got to do our fall training. I got to do our selection process. And, as a graduate assistant, I have my supervisor that's leading and guiding me. And I had a supervisor, obviously, at Lemoyne, but, he said do training. And next time I met, he like is expecting a training schedule. I'm like, oh, you're like that's my direction, right? So it was like, okay, this is what being a big boy looks like, right? I just got to do it. And so I had to take more initiative. I had to, do a lot more on my own, and he was there to guide and to give me correction when needed, and offer suggestions or solutions. But I had to come to him with a plan, and I was used to just, I was given the plan and I had to put more pieces to it. But now I'm the one that's creating the plan. And again, I didn't know how things were done there. So I'm offering opportunities or ways to approach different things, and having these conversations with my supervisor, that's like, oh, like, that's not how we did it here, I never thought about that, let's think about ways to include some of that into some things. And so just being able to navigate those conversations about, this is what I'm used to, or this is my idea that I have, how do I not rock the boat here, right? But how do I try to bring things, maybe something that's a little different, or take an idea that's already been here and maybe take it to the next level. So navigating those conversations, I think, was extremely important, and that I learned that during my time at Lemoyne. And it went quickly. I only spent 2 years as an area director, and then I was asked to take on some multicultural affairs responsibility. And again, that was even more of, you know, just do it, right? There was no game plan before. It was like, here's the job description, make it happen. And so um, I had to learn quickly. I had to learn, how to deal with the politics of a university, how to navigate being a director. I was 2 years out of grad school and I was director of a department. I mean, it was a department of one, but I was still, at these meetings where, there's other directors and these high level assistant deans and associate vice presidents. I'm at these meetings where these other people are. And I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing here? So I had to quickly, find other people who were in my role, make connections. I was able to make connections in the Jesuit network. Fortunately, I had some mentors that I could count on, and then I found that trusted colleagues at Lemoyne that was able to help me navigate that transition. And Daniel, I don't know if you know this about me. I am a naturally introverted person. I enjoy being like today, the students are off, but the campus was open. And man, I enjoyed, I had my AirPods in and I was just getting to town on my emails and work that I just don't get to get done when students are around. But I love my me time. right? I love time, whether I'm watching TV or just, reading a book or just being, I love my me time. And so in higher education, you don't get a lot of me time. And there's a lot of times when, you're forced to interact and to do things with other people. And although it drains me at the end of the day, like even after this today, I'm going to go home and I'm going to get in bed because my social battery will be low. But it just provides me with, I think, skills to navigate the society that we're in. And although it's draining, I think it's valuable experience.
I was going to ask you about that because you are, I think you said you're 23 when you go down to Lemoyne. 2 years into that, you get promoted to this director role. And now you're in a room with, assistant deans, vice presidents and presidents and all these individuals that have, let's say years and years of experience. And here you are, 2 years out of college, but yet you're in the same room. Was there ever like, oh man, like, or do I belong here? Or how did you kind of grow in that room to be like, guess what? If you are in that room with them, and guess what? You belong there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you belong, like you have the key to open that door and they let you into there. And it wasn't like they let you in because nobody else occupied the space. No, no, no. Like you were invited into that room. Can you mind sharing about that a little bit for me?
Yeah. I mean, every day I was like, have I gotten myself into? What did I do? Why am I here? I don't deserve to be here. I don't have the skill set. So that's every day. And honest, it even today, even sometimes today, I'm like, do I really deserve to be here? Do I really have what it takes to do this work effectively? What I think I have learned is, I can code switch very well, and I have been able to learn the game, right? As much as people say, like, there are politics and there are things you got to do on a college or university campus to be successful, to navigate the campus, especially as a Black man at a predominantly white institution where not only most of the students are white, but most of the faculty, staff, and administration is white. So yeah, I got to play the game in order to navigate this space so that, one, I can be heard, or two, I can advocate for my students in the most effective way, and three, so that I can just be successful as a professional and hopefully be able to advance my career. There are, certain ways I got to go about that. And I think I was able to, as an introvert, just sometimes just sit back and listen, sit back and observe and notice just how things operated. And I think that is what kind of helped me with my confidence and what helped me kind of overcome a lot of those feelings of, you don't deserve to be here. I remember being at a conference and talking to some other colleagues, and I said, I don't know why they picked me to come to this conference. Like, usually, again, I'm sitting in the room with presidents and vice presidents, and here I am, just director of a department, again, a department of like one. So, like, what do I deserve? Why do I deserve to be here? What? Who else should be here, right? Whose spot am I taking up? Who else did they ask and they said no? So they're like, oh, let's offer it to this guy. And my one colleague told me, she said, if you're here, it's because you deserve to be here. It's because the institution sees something in you that they want to kind of cultivate and develop. And so, I was like, okay, maybe you're right. And as I continued to learn and grow and to be in different spaces, I took that opportunity. Like, you're right, I do have the key. You invited me to this table. Now you got you got to deal with me being here, right? And so, I'm going to challenge. I'm going to push. I'm going to still play the game, but know that, now that I got the key and now that I have some experience behind me, I'm going to be able to play the game a lot differently than I have in the past.
Now let's talk about that because I mean I'm from Alabama, so I know a lot about what you're referring to right now. So tell me about like you being a black man as an administrator, predominantly white institution, but yet your students are predominantly white, majority white. I'll put it like that, and you're there. What is it like in navigating that space of you having a seat at the table? Y'all, you just mentioned how now that y'all allowed me to be here, you know, hey, I got to do what I got to do, especially at Canisius University. Tell me about the significance of that.
Yeah, I think it's specifically significant here at Canisius because I'm standing on the shoulders of some amazing individuals, right? I am trying to advance the work of many people that have come before me, right? My mentor, Sababu Norris, Miss Martha VC, Miss Lily Adams Dudley. These are individuals who specifically on this campus advocated and worked diligently for the support of marginalized racial groups on this campus. And so, um, you know, that is kind of my motivation. It kind of helps me and leads me because I'm like, one, I'm not doing this alone. I'm fortunate to have some colleagues that are, amazing supporters. And I know that the people who started, like, I don't want their work to be in vain. And I know that they didn't start this work, without knowing that it was going to be a challenge and that it was going to be, um, somebody else that would eventually have to carry the baton. And so I'm just grateful to have the opportunity. Again, I think Canisius is the greatest place on earth. And whatever I can do to make other students see that this is the greatest place on earth, or when they get here, feel like this is the greatest place on earth, I will do everything in my power to do so.
And I appreciate that you shared about the shoulders that you stand on, because there are some giants that have walked that campus and have paved the way for not only you but also all the other students that get an opportunity to be on campus and get scholarships or be in leadership roles or in administration. I remember when I came out there, I had the opportunity to like learn the history of those first individuals that were African Americans that stepped foot on campus, and just like learning about them and the challenges that they faced, but yet they were determined to make an impact. Like they were determined to make sure that when Bennie Williams, like in the future, we're going to make sure that his journey isn't as difficult as mine, for the simple fact of the way in which I move and operate while I'm on campus. And so, like when you talk about like this is a university that focuses on developing leaders, I'm not surprised that not only did they come through there and that was their the things that they focused on while they were there, but individuals like yourself and the ones that are there now are also doing some amazing things as well. And so, man, I'm amazed by the giants that have come through there, but it doesn't surprise me at all because you all have an amazing pedigree there on campus.
Well, I appreciate that, and sometimes, I push a little bit, or I make people think a little bit differently. And, sometimes when they push back, I'm just like, remember, I went to Canisius, so this is what you made me, right? This is what you wanted people to do. You said Canisius is where leaders are made. I'm a product. I'm a two-time graduate of the university. I'm a product of being where leaders are made. So this is what you trained me to do, right? To ask the questions, to think differently, to go big or go home. This is what you taught me to do. So you taught me to do it, and then you invited me to be here. So now you got to deal with me.
Well, but I think that's a challenge with leadership though, because leadership is not about um, dictating every element of how you get something done. It's about equipping you with the ability to solve problems, the ability to have a mission and vision and focus, and to be able to guide others along that way. So if I say, "Hey, leadership is where we create robots," then I'm not creating. That's not leadership, right? Leadership is where I say that, hey, this challenges me, but for the simple fact that you're challenging me means that what there is something that we're not on the same page about. There's something that we have to grow in understanding, and that's leadership because it's all about growth as we move forward towards the same goal.
Absolutely. And I think, people are on different paths to their leadership and at different stages. And so sometimes I have to realize and give grace to myself and to others that everybody doesn't have my experiences. Everybody isn't looking at it through my lens. And so how do I give myself grace? How do I give my colleagues grace? How do I give my students grace? And how do, I hope that they give me some grace as well. And, figuring out that we're on different paths, maybe different paths to our leadership and at different levels of it, right? With my students, I have my master's degree, trying to work on my doctorate. We'll see how that goes. But, I've had some experiences where they're still, doing the experiencing, right? And so, I agree with you that it's a problem with leadership if you think that way. And I just have to remember to give myself and others grace.
Well, I think the amazing thing about that is that we're all learning and we're all growing, and so we have more days and more opportunities to get it right. But the goal is to get it right. And so, man, I love, like I said, I'm a huge fan of the work that you all are doing there. But I would like to talk about, because I feel like we skipped a moment there because we were talking about Lemoyne, and you being there. But then there was a transition back to Canisius University. What was the reasoning behind that journey home?
Yeah, that was that was a transition for real because I had established some roots in Syracuse and made relationships. And so the decision to come back home was um, was not done lightly. I had a family and I had to consider that. And I'll be honest, I did not make that consideration when I took the job at Lemoyne about how that would impact my family. And so I learned from that, right? And I had to have a conversation with my wife about, what are the opportunities for us? What are the challenges if we move back? And kind of why to move back, right? What's the reasoning? Um, you know, um, my father passed away in 2017, and it was unexpected, and so that hit me hard. And I will, I'm not the same person that I was before that. Um, but with that, I I was able to value the time I was able to spend with him, and the support that I was able to give him while he was here on earth. And then my mother has had you know, some health challenges. She's had a triple bypass surgery. She's had just numerous, surgeries and procedures. My grandmother has had numerous surgeries and procedures. And so, um, I wish I've had more time with my father. And when I look back, I'm like, let me now try to cherish, the time I have with some of my other loved ones. And I'll be honest, I think I was running my course at Lemoyne. I think I was getting to a place where I don't know if I was extremely valued and if I was really making a difference in the work. I love the students, and that was one of the hardest decisions to make, was to leave students. If I could have took those students with me and brought them to Canisius, that would have been great. But one of my vice presidents told me that, she understood my thought process, but she said, there are great students everywhere. And so you'll still have relationships and you'll still be able to connect with those students. But then you'll have the opportunity to build some new relationships and have that same feeling that you had with a new group of students. And so yeah, it was during a very challenging time. It was during the pandemic. I do not recommend quitting a job and starting another one and trying to sell a house and buy a house. Do not recommend to do that during a pandemic. But, I look back at how extremely grateful I should be, right? How so many people were losing their jobs, losing their lives, losing loved ones. And I was fortunate to keep my life, to keep my job, work from home, and actually find a new job during that challenging time for so many of us across the country. I thank Jehovah for all of that. And yeah, so the opportunity came up to come to Canisius, and after some, reflection, what we would say here in the Jesuit world, some discernment, some conversations with people, and a supportive wife who knew that, one, I wasn't the same person after my father died, and my relationships with my family, was a priority for both of us. Um, she told me that, your mom and my grandmother in particular, they deserve you to come back. They deserve the care and the compassion that you want to show them. And so she supported me through that decision. And here we are, almost 4 years later.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you for saying that, and I'm sorry for your father's loss. I had a transition back home in 2020, and not from the loss of parents, but my mother and father had been having some health challenges, and I was living in Arizona, had been out there for 11 years, and it was you feel like, man, it's time to go home. It's time to spend more time with your loved ones, mom, dad, brothers, sisters, just family all together. And like you said, I missed a whole lot as it relates to birthdays, holidays, all that different type of stuff. And you do it for the sake of, this is, career advancement, which is, a real thing, and it's important. But at the end of the day, you realize just how much more important family is over all those things that we chase in life. And so I'm grateful that you're not only back home, we're able to transition through a season to where others were having challenges. You were able to persevere and to be able to make it through that and transition to a place to not only are you back home, but you're also back where you started and learned how to be a leader. So that's amazing.
Yeah, man. I'm grateful, humbled and grateful.
That's cool. Well, one of the last things I would say, and kind of ask you a question about, is that for anybody that's interested in, you know, working in higher education, obviously Canisius has a program to where you were able to learn more about that. What is important on a college campus? Let's say I'm wanting to send my kid off to college, and how do I know that college campus is like, what is important on campus, and to administrators and to individuals that are going to be attending?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. Some of the main things are coming. The highlights. I strongly encourage folks to visit the campus, right? See what it's like, get a feel. You can get a feel for the vibe, as the kids would say today, right? What's going to be like on campus. um, you get to meet people. You get to see them, in their environments, and see how they operate. You want to meet the people just to get a sense of, if you came here, could you work with these people? Could you interact with these people? Could you see these people as, support systems, or a resource for you while you're on campus? For students, I definitely encourage them to get involved, right? To find, something on campus that they're interested in. And if there's nothing there, which I doubt, but if there's nothing there, start it, right? I think when we talked when you were here, that, we have students in our program that started 2 new organizations this past semester. So, I definitely encourage the students to seek all that the institution has to offer and to take advantage of it. And for folks looking to go into higher education, the same thing. Where are there opportunities for you to grow, for you to develop both personally and professionally? And if you're going to make the change to, whether it's career or deciding to go into a graduate program, you're making an investment for yourself. And so you want to take time and care in making that decision, and you want to make an informed decision. So, you know, I always tell students when they come for like our accepted student day or open houses, to ask as many questions as you want. Don't leave without asking the question, so that you can make an informed decision later.
That's good. That's good. And so I appreciate the time that you've given us here, and obviously the wealth of wisdom that you are. Man, I want you all to know this. That you didn't know I was going to mention this, but this is my opportunity to throw this in here. My man received an award, Administrator of the Year, if I, College Administrator of the Year. I think if I saw that correctly. So you were awarded for all the amazing things that you're doing on campus, in the community. And so I just wanted to take this time, this honor, and just to give you the respect that you deserve, and just to be able to celebrate you on our show. So to the College Administrator of the Year, Mr. Bennie Williams, congratulations. We salute you. You're doing amazing things and continue to flourish in everything that you do.
Appreciate you so much. I think Dwayne Wade must have been on vacation, and that's why I got that award. Um, but no, I'm extreme. That was a shock too. Just like I didn't know you were going to say that. Getting that award was a shock. And again, man, when I find the word to describe that feeling, I'll definitely, touch base with you. But I am humbled. I am honored to be considered to be on your podcast, man. As you said, I consider you a friend. It's been great working with you, great learning with you, um, and I appreciate all that you're doing for our society. So, man, you keep up the good work, and I'm just honored to be able to connect with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So one last question before we go. We end our show with this segment called "Better Days Ahead," and what that is that if you have any wisdom, knowledge, or mantra for somebody that may need a little bit of a push or encouragement to keep fighting, to keep going, do you have anything that you would like to share with us?
I would consider myself a spiritual person. And I would say for the last few years, I've been struggling with my spirituality. And when I say struggling with my spirituality, I don't question my faith at all. It's more of a personal struggle of dealing with the challenges. Um, but one of my favorite scriptures is you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. So for those who are spiritual, I would encourage folks to, you know, um, look for the help that you need. Look for that extra help to get you that support. And even if you're not spiritual, know that it's gonna be okay, right? You're gonna push through. There's gonna be times when it's gonna look rough, but no matter what the outcome is, you're gonna be okay.
That's good. That's good. So I say this: we like to end our segments with the wisdom, the advice that we got, and I use it for both. Whether you're spiritual or not, look for the help that you need. Right. So we all can utilize help at some point in our lives, whether it's a higher power, whether it's not. Look for the help that you need. There's help all around us for whatever challenges that we may be facing. Everything is going to be okay. Help is on the way. So thank you all so much for your time. Thank you so much, Mr. Williams, for all your information and knowledge. This is another segment of the Mindset on Resilience podcast. Until next time.